From WNDU, your breaking news and weather authority, this is News Center 16 at 11.
Snow emergency. It's been a rough winter for area ski resorts. Will a good dose of the white stuff this weekend be enough to entice skiers back to the slopes? Barn blaze. Firefighters are called out to battle a large fire in southern St. Joe County. Dramatic chase. An hour-long chase through Marshall County ends with police shooting a suspected reckless driver.
Good evening, I'm Terry McFadden. We're following breaking news tonight out of Marshall County where a suspect has reportedly been shot by an officer after an hour-long pursuit. It ended just before 9 o'clock near the intersection of Quince Road and US 6. News Center 16's Kevin Lewis joins us now live from the scene. And Kevin, what's the very latest?
Jerry, let's start with the most important information first. We just got word from Indiana State Police that the suspect that was shot has been confirmed dead. He died after leaving the scene here. He was transported by ambulance to Memorial Hospital, but we do know that suspect confirmed dead tonight. Let's start from the very beginning, though. This began actually down in Argus. Police there initiated a traffic stop. They suspected the driver of drunk driving. He did not stop, though. A pursuit very quickly began. It went up 31 through Plymouth, and actually the driver turned left onto US 6. DNR, Marshall County Police, Argus Police, Walkerton Police, all involved in this pursuit. On US 6, the driver then turned onto Quince, where we are standing right now. We're going to take a look, if we can actually take a live look of this car. We're going to have our videographer, Scott Palmer, zoom in on the red pickup truck with the hazard lights on. That is the suspect vehicle. He came to a stop just beyond Quince and Roy Street. Police here say he got out of the vehicle, started running into a grass yard. Police yelling at the suspect to stop. A DNR officer went parallel to him, yelling at him to stop. That is when police say he pulled out a handgun, fired 2 shots at officers. Officers returned that fire, shot back at the suspect, and he came to arrest on the ground. Ambulance is called in, and that is where we stand right now. US 6 was blocked for about an hour in both directions as police were handling this situation. The traffic has since resumed. Terry, you know as well as I, police are never going to recommend running from police. And on a night like this where you have snow, where you have wind and sleet in most parts of Michiana, it is definitely not recommended. The scene behind me, proof of that tonight. Terry.
All right, and Kevin, so what we're to understand is that the suspect fired shots and several officers returned fire. Is that what we know?
That is what it sounds like. Police not delving into how many times this suspect could have been shot or where he was shot. We should also mention that police are not releasing any form of identity since it is so fresh and the next of kin have not been notified. But no clear detail as to how many officers returned fire, but we do know the suspect fired 2 shots at police. That is when they returned fire. They have recovered that handgun as well.
All right, and Kevin, do we know, I know police are not identifying the man, but do we at least know that he is from this area? This isn't somebody who was just passing through?
Unclear really tonight, Terry. Like I said, we know that this started down in Argus. I did a quick map search. It's about 19 miles from Argus to where we stand right now. So the pursuit did go on for quite some time. And the pickup truck there, we haven't been able to determine, but it looks to me that there are Indiana plates. So one would presume that it is someone from the area, but the police have not officially confirmed that just yet.
All right, Kevin Lewis reporting live tonight from Quince and US 6. And Kevin will be back with you later on in this newscast for updates from the scene. Kevin, thanks a lot. Also new at 11, fire crews from 7 different departments responded to a barn fire tonight in southern St. Joe County, not far from where that shooting occurred. It happened around 7:20 p.m. in the 65,000 block of Fur Road in Madison Township. Firefighters arrived to find the barn fully engulfed in flames. The mostly volunteer-based Madison Township Fire Department was able to respond quickly to the scene. They'd been at their station doing a monthly check when the call came in. Now, there are no fire hydrants in the area, making things very difficult for the crews trying to put out the blaze. Tanker trucks were constantly bringing water to the scene. They were eventually able to contain the fire before it spread to a nearby house, but the barn, unfortunately, a total loss.
Initially, the call came out as the barn totally engulfed in flames. I live out of the district a little bit, so I was about 10 to 12 minutes late getting here. When I was here, the barn was fully involved. Causes undetermined at this time. The owner had some pets. He has hunting dogs, and we're not sure where they're at right now, but no other livestock in the barn.
And again, as you just heard, the barn is being used to house pheasant hunting dogs, and officials not yet sure if the animals were able to escape. Well, a winter storm warning's issued for parts of Michiana, but just about everyone in the area will be affected by this rare bout of wintry weather. Right, Mike?
Yeah, southwest Michigan that's now under the winter storm warning. It's an interesting storm. We've had reports on my Facebook page of thunder and lightning in this burst of rain and snow we've seen during the past hour, but you will notice this area of dry air is coming in, and that is, I think, going to cut this thing off for about 3 to 4 hours, but look what's back to the west. If you watch the motion on this thing, this area near Des Moines is very heavy snow, and it is rotating, right toward the east. I think by morning we'll be seeing this heavy wet snow coming our way and affecting many parts of Michiana. Here's the way things shape up in my day planner then. I think temperatures will be close to that freezing mark, though, so this is going to be a sloppy, heavy, wet snow. It will accumulate on the roads just because it'll come down so hard, but it'll be very slushy, not icy. Heavy at times, 8 a.m., still some snow showers as it turns breezy and stays cold through the afternoon hours and really right on into tomorrow evening. I'll have an updated snow forecast map coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. For the second time this week, a bicyclist is hit by a car on a busy road in northern St. Joe County. It happened tonight along Ironwood near Ponader Drive. That's just north of Douglas Road. Police say a man was on a bike riding north on Ironwood to work when a northbound vehicle clipped him, throwing him to the pavement. The bicyclist was taken to the hospital, but police say his injuries are not life-threatening. Now, on Sunday, a 62-year-old South Bend man on a bicycle was struck and killed by a car on State Road 23, not far from tonight's accident. Well, so far this winter has proven to be a challenge for the folks at Swiss Valley. They say when there's no snow on people's driveways, a ski trip is really not high on their list of priorities either. News Center 16's Gabby Gonzalez is live in the newsroom. It was at Swiss Valley earlier today. So, Gabby, have they had issues actually getting enough snow on the slopes up there?
Well, when their hills were completely white tonight, Terry, when I was there, but management tells me they've seen significantly less people skiing. Now, most of the snow there this year is man-made, an expensive alternative to the real stuff. So they hope that tonight's forecasted snow will help lure more customers to the slopes.
Stepping into skis is part of Dakota Foch's routine, but this winter, one key thing has been missing.
I've been looking for the snow.
The mild winter has made his trip down this mountain a bit lighter.
Like right now I'm skiing in a sweatshirt, you know. I usually have to wear my coat. Like last year I wore my coat all the time.
An evening on the slopes that feels more like spring than winter.
A lot less snow, a lot warmer weather.
And while Swiss Valley can make their own snow, there's one challenge they can't quite overcome.
People's mindset is if there's no snow in Kokomo, there's no snow in the world, but that's not true. If they don't have that snow in their yard, they're not thinking about us and they're not thinking about skiing and snowboarding. We call that the windowsill factor.
Their equipment has been busy producing man-made snow since they opened the first week of 2012.
It's more expensive for us to provide the man-made snow than what Mother Nature gives us.
So while these skiers are enjoying the feel of winter, management at Swiss welcomes the news of snow coming from somewhere besides their snow machines.
Yeah, we jump up and down, and everybody that loves winter jumps up and down, and skiers and snowboarders are like, hey, give us the 8 inches, not just the 5. We want it all. Bring it on.
And Stephanie tells me it costs an average of $400 per inch to produce some skiable snow, so the more natural snow they can get, the better.
All right, and the good news, I just shouted over to Mike Hoffman in the Weather Lab. He says the Swiss Valley area is going to get a good dose of snow, so that's good news for those folks.
Oh, yeah.
And I know they didn't open until the beginning of this year. Did that really hurt them financially for the season?
Well, you know, Terry, I asked them about that today, and they told me that while that was a bit of a setback, that also means they weren't paying for labor cost, upkeep, or snowmaking. So they still hope to make up for that in the rest of the season.
All right, Gabby Gonzalez reporting live from the newsroom. Gabby, thanks. Well, in other news, ousted Indiana Secretary of State Charlie White was sentenced today to a year of home detention, and the felony convictions for voter fraud against him were upheld. The former elections chief was found guilty of voter fraud, perjury, and other charges earlier this month. Prosecutors said he used his ex-wife's address on his voter registration form instead of a condo he had then with his fiancée, because he didn't want to give up his Fishers Town Council salary after moving out of the district. White had hoped to get his convictions reduced to misdemeanors so he could keep his job. Well, under Indiana law, people convicted of felonies can't hold office. White is expected to appeal. More than 200 local postal workers could be out of work after a nationwide consolidation plan is put into place. Now, today, the Postal Service announced the South Bend distribution facility will be merged with a center in Fort Wayne. It's part of a nationwide effort to cut costs. More than 250 distribution centers across the country will close, slowing the delivery of mail.
The greatest impact will be in what they call service standards. Presently, we work under a logistic network that comprises next day delivery, which is about 40% of the mail, 2-day delivery up to about 600 miles, and then 3-day delivery across the country. They want to change that, what they call it, relaxation of the service standards to somewhere 2 to 3 days, they claim, but they also talk about, and you've probably heard, reduction in delivery, the number of days per week.
Now, the post office did not announce a timeline to close the South Bend facility, and it's still considering stopping mail delivery on Saturdays. Now, finally, Congress and postal leaders have until May 15th to come up with an alternative plan.
More to come on News Center.
And heavy wet snow coming right through the I-80 corridor toward Michiana. How much will you probably have to try and get off your driveway when you get to morning or even tomorrow afternoon? It's going to be heavy and sloppy. I'll have my forecast coming up.
From WNDU, Weather Authority Mike Hoffman has your Storm Team 16 forecast.
Well, I said at 5 and 6, and I'll say it again. This is a tough forecast. You know, some forecasts we can be pretty confident that we're going to get a fair amount of snow all across Michiana. In this case, we have several factors. One is very slowly that cold air is coming in from the north, but it's still above freezing all across Michiana. We showed you that dry area coming up on Doppler radar. That's going to cut it off here for 3 or 4 hours. But we have that secondary system feeding in from the west, and that still has a lot of snow with it. So I'll be honest, you could get a lot less than this, but you could also get a little more than this on your backyard. So pick out your spot on this map. If you want a longer look at it, I did post it on my Facebook page as well. But you can see southwest Michigan, we're expecting 6 inches or more, a little bit north of the state line, 3 to 6 through the state line and I-80 corridor, toll road area, 1 to 3 farther south. And I have tweaked this northward since 5 and 6. I'm not quite as confident in our southern areas. Let's go outside, see what our Skyview 16 cameras look like at this hour. Out of South Bend, we have fallen over the past couple of hours from 37 to 35 because of that rain and snow that swept in. I think it may hold steady here for a while until that snow comes in from the west, though. Here are the rest of the numbers. Relative humidity, 88%. It's still very humid out there. Winds are northeasterly at 9, and that's what's trying to bring in the colder air. Here's where some of that colder air is. In fact, Cassopolis is already down to 33. Shipshewana, same thing, and it's being drawn in slowly to the storm system, so that's what's going to keep it all snow later on tonight. 36 in Rochester and Winnemac right now. Satellite radar combination again shows the multiple parts of this storm. We've had the one piece here, another piece coming across the plain states. You can see we were rain for a while mixed with snow from time to time. A lot of it's gone north of us, but this is all rotating back in and coming right down the I-80 corridor across Iowa and Illinois toward us. Here's what the future looks like with 16 Future Track. So here we go. We'll watch the 2 areas of low pressure. One is just south of Indianapolis right now. The other one coming into Illinois. So this is that dry area coming in. It'll cut it off till maybe 3, 4 o'clock, and then we'll see this area. That's heavy snow there. Chicago, Gary, southwestern Michigan. That's all coming southward again. And so by morning, I think most of this will even be snow. But you folks in our southern areas, you may have no snow on the ground when you get up at 7 a.m. Just because it hadn't quite gotten there yet. It will still swing through as that secondary storm moves by. There's noon, strong north wind coming down the lake, and that's going to keep that snow going for a little while into the afternoon. Then it'll become lake effect snow showers, but you'll notice there's a weak area of low pressure up there. That's the third one, and that's going to help to kind of increase that lake effect snow into tomorrow night. So we may get another inch or two out of that On into Saturday morning we go, and you can see lake effect continues in southwest Michigan even into the afternoon, but a lot of us will at least see some sunshine as we head through the day. We'll turn our attention to the next storm system then. A lot of this one's going to stay to the north of us, it looks like, as we head into early next week. Here's my Storm Team 16 forecast for all of Michiana for tonight. Rain and snow tapers off for a while, then returns as snow after 3 a.m. Low temperature down to 32. Heavy wet snow continues through the day. Total accumulations 3 to 6 on average. High of 34. 22 tomorrow night. Another inch or so of lake effect snow. It's going to be breezy and colder if you're going to be out and about. And then the high on Saturday just 32. Scattered lake effect snow showers. Sunshine returns Sunday and Monday. Starts to melt off that wet snow though, and more rain and snow possible middle of next week. Another very similar looking storm system to me. We'll have to watch that one. Terry's back with more news coming up.
We're continuing to follow breaking news out of Marshall County, where just a few minutes ago we learned that a suspect has been fatally shot by police after an hour-long car chase. Let's rejoin Kevin Lewis again live from the scene at Quince and US 6. Kevin, what's the latest?
Terry, I'm joined live right now with Sergeant Trent Smith with Indiana State Police, who is the public information officer brought into situations like this to share information with you in the public. And Sergeant Smith, this obviously a very serious situation. Can you kind of just bring us to speed as to how this all began?
It happened around 8:30 tonight. We had Argus Police Department and Walkerton Police Department, Marshall County involved initially, just trying to stop a person that they suspected was a drunk driver. The pursuit began just north of Argus, went up Michigan Road, which turned into US 31, and then the subject turned left or west onto US 6, and then eventually turned again here on Quince Road. And then you can see that the subject's vehicle, a pickup truck, ended. He came to a stop about 100 yards on Quince Road after he turned off of US 6. He took off on foot, and officers gave chase to him and were yelling at him the whole time to stop, police, stop, police. And now another vehicle, I don't know if you can see it or not, there was a DNR vehicle over there, an SUV. They were also involved with the chase. They were a little bit farther behind. He actually saw the subject get out and start running, so he kind of paralleled with him and was driving in the vehicle as the police officers, the other ones, were chasing him. Then we had, he reported that as he was watching the subject, he turned around. He actually saw the muzzle flash from the gun, heard the shots go off, and that's when the other police officers are already out of their vehicles, returned fire, striking the subject.
Obviously very dramatic moments must have been transpiring there.
Right.
Things have calmed down now. A lot of your detectives in the background, viewers can see them at home. What exactly are they doing right now?
Well, we have our CSI tech out here, or crime scene investigator. He's out here along with about a half a dozen detectives. They're in the process of interviewing the officers that are involved in the shooting. Anybody else that was a witness. Obviously our CSI guy, he's out here collecting evidence, photographing the scene, taking diagrams, measurements, and things of that nature. Just basically trying to get an idea of what happened here exactly tonight.
All right, Sergeant Smith, thanks for joining us live on the air here. And Terry, we are going to be tossing it back to you in the studio. We will be joining you live again later on in the broadcast.
All right, Kevin Lewis reporting live tonight from Marshall County tonight. Thanks, Kevin. Well, the Cubs are under new management for the upcoming season, and coming up in sports, we'll hear some thoughts from the new skipper. Stay tuned.
The Cubs have gathered in sunny Arizona to prepare for the 2012 season. The regime of Jim Hendry and Lou Piniella is gone. Theo Epstein and Dale Swaim have taken over the club. The team is starting its drills in Mesa. It may look boring, but this is the kind of activity that every major league club goes through. Pitchers covering first, fielding bunts, batters trying to get bunts down. The new skipper is Dale Swaim.
I think you pay attention when you really don't know a lot of guys. It's just kind of how they handle things, how they handle the bullpen sessions. Are they throwing strikes? Is it coming out easy? Are they max effort? When it comes down to those decisions late in camp, you might take a guy that handles his position really well, fields his position, can throw over, can hold runners, all those kind of things.
In other Major League Baseball news today, Ryan Braun of the Brewers has won the appeal on his failed drug test. He will not have to sit out 50 games for Milwaukee to start the season. On the ice tonight, Canucks and Red Wings in Detroit. Justin Abdelkader right on the doorstep, smacks it through. Red Wings lead 3-2 late in the game. Talk about a great play between the pipes. Jimmy Howard stops David Booth, but then Daniel Sundin scores with only 15 seconds left. Then onto a shootout they go. Alex Burrows scores. The Wings' home ice winning streak ends at 23 as the Canucks win tonight in Detroit. Meanwhile, the Irish Icers are reeling heading into the final stretch of the regular season. They've dropped 5 games in a row and welcome a solid Michigan State squad on Friday night. The Irish are looking to lock up the final home ice series in round 1 of the playoffs, and the players know if they can turn it around, they'll be tough to stop.
A team that goes through adversity, I think, becomes closer, and I think, this is a great challenge for us, and I think that, everyone in our locker room trusts each other to get through this, and once we do, I think, we're going to be closer for it, and I think we're going to have a lot more confidence, which I think we might be lacking right now. So once we get that, I think, any team that plays us is probably going to have some struggles with us.
The Irish and Spartans are meeting for the first time of the season this weekend. Racing today at Daytona, the twin duels. First race, Danica Patrick hits the wall and hits it hard. As you'll see on her onboard camera, it was a big jolt. But she was okay. She'll race on Sunday. Tony Stewart wins the first of the duels. And in the nightcap, it was Matt Kenseth coming home the victor as Stewart and Kenseth win the twin duels today at Daytona. David Stremme and Tony Raines qualified for Sunday's race. And that'll do it for sports.
Jeff, thanks a lot. And after the break, we'll check in with Kevin Lewis one more time from the scene of that fatal officer-involved shooting in Marshall County. And we want to update our top story tonight, a breaking news story out of Marshall County where a suspect who is being chased following a police pursuit was shot and killed by police after he reportedly fired first at officers. Kevin Lewis standing by at US 6 in Quince. Kevin, what's the latest?
Terry, for our viewers just joining us now that missed our reports earlier in the broadcast, let's catch them up to speed first. This all began as a traffic stop down in Argus. Police there were stopping the vehicle for suspected drunk driving. The driver, however, took off. This quickly turned into a pursuit with Marshall County, Argus, DNR, and Walkerton police officers. I'm going to step aside here and have our photojournalist Scott Palmer actually zoom in. The suspect vehicle is still parked there. It has its hazard lights on. It's a red pickup of some sort. Police say the driver of that vehicle came to a stop there with police cars behind him. He went out, ran into this field off of Quince Road and US 6. Police officers screaming for the man to stop. He did not. Police say he turned around and shot 2 shots from his gun at officers. At that point, they returned fire. The suspect hit multiple times. We do not know how many, though, and where he was shot. Police, once they handled the scene and got that suspect's gun, called paramedics who transported the man to Memorial Hospital. But like you said, Terry, we have confirmation tonight that that man has passed. At 11 at the top of the show, Terry, you asked if the suspect was from the area. We have confirmed that he is from the area. However, police are withholding his identity for notification of family members. However, police do say that we should have his name by the morning. So make sure to keep tabs on WNDU.com and also tune in 16 Morning News with Tricia and Frank. We expect to have his name there. US 6, though, has reopened for about an hour period. They did have US 6 shut down to traffic, but that is reopened. Indiana State Police currently investigating, detectives on the scene, but expected to wrap up this investigation within the next hour or so.
All right, and Kevin, there were some reports that perhaps this guy was driving, well, obviously he's being chased by police, but maybe driving recklessly, endangering other drivers. Do we have any knowledge that perhaps he clipped any other cars or hit any other cars, or was this mainly between the police and this gentleman they were pursuing?
We haven't heard any reports of any other cars being involved. Of course, this is a night where weather is an issue. We have snow, sleet, rain throughout parts of Michiana. It's primarily rain here, but definitely a night not to be running from police if there ever is one. But no reports that any other cars involved.
All right, Kevin Lewis reporting live tonight from US 6 in Quince. And of course, we'll have updates on WNDU.com and on 16 Morning News. Kevin, thank you very much. And the roads, obviously, not the best of conditions, and later this morning, it's going to get worse.
It should get worse, right? You notice it wasn't doing much where Kevin is, and that's because we're in a lull here, but you'll notice that snow from Davenport to Des Moines is all coming right down the interstate. So here's what we're expecting in your backyard. We're still going 3 to 6. It's going to be a close call, though, folks. Southern areas may not get a whole lot. We're only going a coating to 1 inch. In Pulaski and Fulton counties, but southwest Michigan, some areas may get upwards of 6 inches, and this is going to be a tough snow to move around, heavy and wet.
All right, and if there are any delays or cancellations, you'll see them on 16 Morning News and WNDU.com. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.